possibility in the preseason this weekend of getting the three big rookie quarterbacks. So Andrew Hawkins is going to give us his Hawkeye view of this rookie class. Hawk, what are you watching for from Jaden Daniels?
I want to see Jaden Daniels not be so quick to rely on his athletic ability. That is one of the things he brings to the table. But when you're in the NFL, it is very hard to out-athletic NFL defenses. And in this preseason, that's what I want to see him work. Go through your progression beyond the first and second read, because your discrepancy of your weapons to NFL defense is a lot shorter than the discrepancy between a Malik Neighbors and a Brian Thomas Jr. when he was at LSU.
All right, let's go then to New England. What are you looking to see from Drake May?
I want to see him laser-like on his short to intermediate throws and operating the huddle. They run a West Coast system. It's complex play calls. I want to see him have a control that his players on his offense feel like he's in command. And then we know he has a big arm. We know he can push it down the field. But I do want to kind of see some Mac Jones-esque type operation in the preseason. Let me see you great on short throws, great in your intermediate routes, and great in operating the very short offense before taking the big shots.
That does not seem like he's trending towards being the starter week one. Caleb Williams certainly is. And Matt Eberflus says he's leaning towards Caleb playing this weekend against the Bills. So, Hawk, what are you watching for from him in his preseason debut?
I want to watch him take everything I said about Daniels and Drake May and throw it out the window. Light that thing up, okay? We want to see a show, Caleb Williams. I don't want to see a rookie. I want to see a guy throwing it all over the yard, being the guy who he is. Yeah, there's high expectations, but we all had a part in setting it, including yourself. Let's see what you're made of. I want to see you put on a show.
Okay, love it. And so you're putting very high expectations on Caleb Williams, which sort of dovetails very nicely into the conversation. Bears Hard Knocks premiered last night, and we got the permission to show this to you here. This is Nick Saban meeting up with Matt Eberflus, and listen to the conversation.
To me, expectations are a killer. This kid's got so much media, so much hype, so much expectation on doing well. And he has to develop so quickly to meet the expectations that everybody has for him. It's almost impossible.
Because there is a development phase to this. The first year is rookies, second year, and as a third year, they got it once they're in our system.
And I think that's the biggest thing you got to worry about with your quarterback. Right? Because the expectations are a killer.
I mean, it's almost like Nick has been watching our show because we have been talking about this literally every day. I want to make sure you're aware. Hard Knocks airs Tuesday nights on HBO. It's available to stream on Max. And as I say every summer, we greatly appreciate their granting us permission to show some of their best stuff because it's such good content for us and good fodder for conversation. So Courtney Cronin is here today getting ready to do First Take, but is our Bears reporter. And so you're there for a lot of this. So it's one thing for people like me to be talking on television about the expectations on Caleb Williams. That's Nick Saban, for crying out loud, saying it. What are the thoughts?
Well, I thought that conversation shows you a really unique insight into that relationship because Nick Saban was Matt Eberflus's coach at Toledo, and Eberflus coached under him at Toledo for a year. So bringing him into the building, a lot of that was learning about the quarterbacks and how to manage quarterbacks and how to manage a quarterback of the caliber of Caleb Williams. And the thing that I took away from watching that interaction was the advice he gave Matt Eberflus about what he did at Alabama, what he did at LSU. He would stand behind the quarterbacks in practice because he wanted to get their perspective. What did you see on this play? What do you think went right? What do you think went wrong? He would never go out there and admonish a quarterback or make them feel less than if something didn't happen the way that it was supposed to or drawn up in practice. So then immediately it jumps to a scene where you see Matt Eberflus standing behind Caleb Williams, going through something at practice, and he grabs him right away and says, okay, what did you see on this? And you hear the conversation between the head coach and the quarterback in a really much more intimate level than I even noticed being out there at practice most every day throughout training camp. There's a lot of moving parts out there. You don't really get to see that interaction as up close as we did on Hard Knocks. Typically, it's Caleb Williams in the hip pocket of the offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. So I thought that was a nice little glimpse into their relationship. And I sat down with Matt Eberflus about a week ago to ask where the relationship was with Caleb Williams and really what he learned from Justin Fields. He had a young quarterback in the building for his first 2 years in Chicago, and maybe what he learned that he wanted to change and things that he thought he did really well that he would be able to bring to the relationship here. And A lot of that has to do with him, a defensive-minded head coach, being in those quarterback meetings. They call it the Breakfast Club in Chicago. It's one of the first things that happen in the morning, where Eberflus is in with the quarterbacks, in with the coaches, learning about what they're going to do for the day and going through the plan there. And for Caleb Williams to be the apex of the offense, that's what Matt Eberflus calls him. Everything has to revolve around one player and one player only. And that relationship is the key to the success, not only for the team, but for Matt Eberflus and his job trajectory going forward, too.
And look, the expectations in Chicago are so high, knowing the city and the market and the fans as well as I do. I mean, for whatever this is worth, also, I mean, the Bulls, Blackhawks, White Sox, and Cubs are all terrible. So,
No pressure.
I mean, the city is right begging and screaming for this team to do some good things. And so, Mike T, I'll come to you, because you had a team with a rookie quarterback with Mark Sanchez, who was drafted high, and thus expectations were high. But the circumstances were totally different. The coach is Rex Ryan, basically telling him, look, kid, just don't screw this thing up. I've got a great defense. Just don't go out there and give the ball to the other team. This is very different.
But the same wisdom applies. We had a rookie head coach, a rookie quarterback, who went to the championship game, and the reason why goes back to what Coach Parcells is. The job description of a quarterback is to get your team into the end zone. You have DeAndre Swift. You have a really good defense. And I think what was interesting, a little bit to what Courtney alluded to, which is if Matt Eberflus and Nick Saban are talking about this, imagine the conversations that Caleb Williams is having, where he probably thinks he has to throw for 4,000 yards by the end of September. And what I would be telling Caleb Williams every day is, make first downs, get your team into the end zone. That's what matters. You're going to be here for a long time. As Bill Parcells would say, we're not measuring you for a bust in Canton quite yet. So all those things you're saying, he has to fight human nature and just play the quarterback position, play point guard, and if you have success, all these other things will come.
The Serious song, which is the Alan Parsons Project. You know that intro, why it's famous?
Yeah.
That was Michael Jordan in the 1990s Bulls, and you get the old Bulls PA announcer addressing Caleb Williams as such. This city is about to explode if he's able to take off the way that people on the outside expect him to. But inside that building, they're trying to manage all of that noise because everything's brand new. Going through a practice script in the NFL is brand new. That's the reason why in Canton last week, they had him go out and practice straight up pregame warm-ups. I mean, he wasn't playing, we knew that, but he was out there in uniform going through what a normal game day is going to look like, because it's all brand new. And at some point, it has to become second nature, and you only get that if you're able to go through those reps and make it feel more normal than foreign.
Here's the situation in Chicago. The expectation should be high for Caleb Williams because he's the #1 overall pick. But when you have high expectations for a rookie quarterback, you also have to have patience and a 3 to 5 year vision and plan. I got into this argument with Stephen A. and Damon Woody on First Take on Friday, because everything about Caleb Williams right now is comparing him to C.J. Stroud's historic rookie season. And my point of view is that has nothing to do with Caleb. They're not the same person. The situations are different. When you look at rookie quarterbacks, it's not just their talent, because we know Bryce Young is talented. But when he goes to Carolina, a place where we thought he would be so set up for success because his coaching staff, we ended up learning that that coaching staff was actually the real issue, nobody being on the same page. Now you come to Chicago, a situation where they haven't shown that they can develop a rookie quarterback. So to Courtney's point about Eberflus understanding what he needed to do better, what he needs to do better with Caleb, it's a different, Justin Fields to Caleb, different personality, different player. But there's so much out there that Caleb is phenomenal in his own right. The situations are different. His head coach is not D'Amico Ryans. He doesn't have Tank. Like, it's completely different than Houston, and he should not be measured by CJ. In fact, he said on the show, he was like, I don't care, but it is unfair to even put that on him because they're not the same guy.
Yeah, he sat with you guys at the NABJ last week, right? So that was, very interesting to hear. Hawk, a quick final word. As you hear all of this, I mean, you were the one who just set the table for the high expectations.
Here you go, Hawk.
What are your thoughts?
I'm sticking by. I want to see him light it up, because those are expectations he also put out there. Even the way he approached his contract in unconventional ways, because he is very confident in himself, and I think that's what makes him special. But when you think about the expectations you guys are talking about, yes, C.J. Stroud was incredible his rookie year, but what made him special is that the game wasn't too big for him. It wasn't too fast for him. He was not intimidated by defenses, people he would go against at every stage. Caleb has that ability. I don't know what the final numbers will be, but the people in that locker room, in that huddle, his receivers, his offensive line, they want to look to you and say, are you a guy that can make the play from day one and believe you can make the play? Because if you believe, we believe. And if you don't believe, if you're apprehensive, if you're nervous, then that's going to be the issue. So that's really what I want to see from Caleb Williams.